Awesome. Okay, so here's what I want to do. Before we talk about like the story as a whole, what I want to do is I want to go, we'll just like load up all the characters, and I want to go through each character and kind of think about their own story. Some of them will be quick, like Dirk. Dirk doesn't really have that much of a story going for him, I guess. But I want to kind of like go through each character, go through kind of their character arc, how things ended for them, and like kind of where I'm feeling with like each character's story arc, I guess you could say. We don't need to do controller. Screamer. Let's do mouse and keyboard. Yeah, Dirk's just an asshole through and through. It's great. Yeah. Oh, Toxic. Wow. Toxic said I was pretty much just skipping through cutscenes except for the finale. Took me 17 hours. Yeah, I mean, if you do all the side missions, I feel like you're going to easily cross the 15-hour mark. Like, easily. Yes, exactly, Ami. Okay. Let's not start with Hiroshi, because he's obviously, like, the main character. Let's maybe start at the bottom. And these guys actually, like, leave the soonest. So, okay. Team Kagawa Kai. Overall, I mean, we have Noboru, who's kind of the main character. I will say there's not really a filler character in this. Like, all the characters here have a little bit of an arc to them. Like, I was thinking about this lightly last night, and I was like, Hina is a bit of a filler character. Like, she's more one note. She doesn't, like, have her own arc. She's just there to provide a certain emotion. Dirk is kind of similar. To be honest, Frederic is sort of similar. But we'll get to that. I do feel like, though, for Kagawa Kai, everyone's got, like, a little bit of an arc to them. Everyone's got, like, their own place within the story. Noboru, I honestly think this might actually be one of the best complete story arcs. Maybe with the exception that we don't... Do we really... What's our wrap up on Keiji? Do we get... I'm trying to think of, like, what's the very last moments with Keiji? Is it just like, well, he's, stuck with the what the hell, the Yakuza. There we go. Yeah, what's his, like, ending? Do we really get much closure on him? We obviously get some decent closure with Noboru and Akemi, which I'm actually very happy with. But yeah, Keiji, I think, just, like, gets screwed. I think it's just like, yeah, they get kicked out. What's his name? The Yakuza boss is pissed at him, and that's kind of where it ends for him. Does he have more than that? I don't fully remember, like, if there's a finale to what happens with Keiji. But as far as Noboru goes, Noboru, I think, like, has one of the better arcs, where he joins late, I guess. Well, yeah, he joins late. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you, CW. Yeah, we don't see what happens to him after Noboru and Akemi leave. So, actually, I should... Well, it's in the title. I was going to say I should put a spoiler. You know what? I'll do it anyway. I was going to say, like, story thoughts implies spoilers. But just in case, I'm going to put in the title of the stream, spoilers, story thoughts, and gameplay wrap-up. There we go. Okay. The boss is Saburo Arasaka. Yeah, it pretty much is. So, yeah, Noboru, I think, has a really good arc, because he used to be, like, the best screamer. He had a bad accident, and that like really scarred him. He left. He gets dragged back because of Keiji, saying like, "Hey, you kind of need to help me out here." He struggles a lot, kind of overcomes that to a certain degree, gets back in the car, and then the big twist, basically, of Keiji turns out it's a big lie, and Keiji just basically conned him to come back. Akemi was sort of a part of it, but Akemi, and this kind of goes into Akemi's story, she starts out being pretty brash, being pretty cold, being pretty locked away, and pretty defensive, just because of like where her position is, like within the ranking, sort of like she's the young sort of new hire to the family, whatever. She's got to, figure out, how to stand up on her own, but then, and she's probably been fed, info that's kind of incorrect on Noboru, but then she spends time with him, he's nice to her, she sort of comes around, and then obviously they both essentially ride off into the sunset together. So yeah, and then, yeah, Keiji, we can just assume, is kind of just screwed. Like, he's just stuck and probably loses another finger. Dude, Kyle, where were you 20 minutes ago? We needed you for the sirens, buddy. We needed you for the sirens. Oh, wait, Ami says, wait up, DM. Hold on. What you got for me? Oh, okay. Well, oh yeah, we'll do that at the end. Ami just DM'd the Screamer character tier list. So we'll do that after we do the story wrap up. Don't let me forget about that. Yeah, so I'm trying to think if I have any. I think the only major thing I would have liked to see from this entire story arc, but it's honestly, I feel like they maybe could have, like, driven the knife in a little bit deeper about how traumatic it is for Noboru to relive crashing, like, and dying over and over again with the Echo. They did address that for sure. It was brought up. It was a factor of the story. But I feel like they maybe could have been ever so slightly stronger with it. Of like, hey, this is awful. Like, this dude who left racing because he almost died in a bad crash, now has to, like, relive that over and over with the ecosystem. So I think it would have been good to maybe drive that home just a little more. Because they address it, they touch on it, and you can kind of fill in the gaps of, like, of course, this is part of why he's struggling. But it would have been nice to maybe see that a little bit more. They made Akemi do that to level with Noboru, though. Yeah, seeing Noboru's view would have been dope. Right. But that's kind of the only thing. I feel like this... Noboru, I think, has a great character arc. He honestly, he's like the ascended one of everybody here. I feel like, and we were talking about this sort of at the end, a lot of what happens with some of the ending sequences, people end up kind of not learning from their mistakes. And I can't remember, it might have been CW who said, like, a lot of the story is like, was it worth it? Whereas Noboru is kind of, yeah, Mr. Enlightened. He's the one who's like, wait, no, it's not worth it. Screw you guys, I'm out. So, which is actually, I think, really good for his character, because he's also, like, the most seasoned screamer. He's the one that's, like, been in this before. Everyone else, I guess besides, like, Gage, technically, is sort of, I guess, new to the tournament. As far as I understand, I think everyone else is, like, new to this. But Noboru's got some more time in the Screamer tournament, and he's kind of the one, I guess, alongside Akemi, who's just like, nah, screw this, it's not worth it. I'm gonna go make my own destiny. So yeah, I really like, they get like probably the best ending, Noboru and Akemi, and I think they deserve it. Like Noboru, I struggled with a little bit at first, but I really grew to like him, and I think that shows good character development. Keiji, I think, is also really good because he sort of like toes the line of being an asshole, and you're like, yeah, this guy sucks, but like in a similar way to Dirk. And then you find out there's that big reveal of like, it's all a lie, and he just like conned Noboru into this, and he like has no like, he just goes like full asshole, and you're like, oh, screw you, man. And I think that's really good. Like, I think his arc honestly is also very good. And then yeah, Akemi, like, you drive as her character all the time. But she's maybe like a little bit of a side. I don't know. They all kind of get a good amount of time, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like and she, I think, has like a satisfying enough arc anyway. Like maybe she has a little bit less development, but she does still have some. She does still like have motivations, have her own story arc, and have her own finale. So I got it. Kagawa Kai, I think, is really one of the stronger storylines, even though it does end early and kind of starts late as well. It's one of the more compact ones. I guess maybe it would have been nice. I'm just now thinking of like Noboru's relationship with Gabriel. But I kind of understand, maybe it would have been nice to get like more closure, have them figure it out. But also I like that they did have a wedge driven between them because of Gabriel's mom being able to manipulate him. Like, I like that was effective. I think a story without stakes, without things that matter, without bad things that happen, is not a good story. So I kind of liked that. So it was like a good deviation with, yeah, sure, it's not like the happy ending where like Gabriel and Noboru are like, best bros now, but it was, I think, a logical and satisfying enough conclusion to like that arc, I guess I would say. And Noboru like basically saves Gabriel's life still, by unintentionally like walking in on him as he's contemplating jumping off a building. So yeah, I like their arc. A lot of character stories would have benefited from more room to breathe. They were never going to have time to make everyone interesting with such a large cast. Yeah, I think that's a discussion I want to have at the end, is like, this is a game that quite literally has 15 main characters. And to be honest, more than that. Because Gage is a pretty main character. Mr. A is a pretty main character. So you're talking like 17 main characters. I thought, before I played the game, I assumed that like you would always play as these guys, Hiroshi, Frederick, and Roshin, and these were the main characters, and everyone else was like a companion to that. That's not at all the case. Like, technically, yeah, these are kind of the main characters, but really everybody gets a roughly equal amount of time. Like, every team kind of has their own complete arc. And I feel like, considering how many characters they have, they did a really good job with the time they had. I do think, sure, a lot of these stories could have benefited from like an extra, like even 20 minutes, like even like 1 to 2 missions. But then you gotta think that's expanding the story even further beyond the like 20 to 23 hours I spent in it. And 20 minutes for 15 characters, that's hours. That's a reasonable amount of time. So, at that point, you're approaching like a 25 to 30 hour story. And at that point, like, I think for the average player, that'd be overstaying its welcome. So I feel like they balanced that well enough, generally. But yes, we'll get to that. I do think some characters could have benefited from like 1 or 2 more cutscenes. But it's not a major criticism I have, I would say. Noboru might be my favorite male character. Yeah, I really grew to like him throughout the story, and especially again with his ending. Yeah, he's up there for me. Most of the other teams had heavy emotional investment, which kept them there for better or worse. Yeah, true. Gabrielle was becoming too redeemable. Had to get Noboru out of there. Good point. Yeah, I think if there is a sequel, which, man, I hope there is, but sales-wise, I don't know. I think Noboru and Akemi should be gone, but, like, maybe it'd be fun to see, like, one little cutscene or get, like, one little dialogue reference of, like, how they're out just living their best life, you know? Like, they're just having a good time. It'd be nice to get, like, a follow-up on where they're at. What was Abigail's goal with her son? We'll get to that. We'll get up to these guys when we get to them. It's going to be a little tough to talk about these because a lot of the teams do have connections to other teams, but we'll try our best. But yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, CW I do think has a pretty good answer. Just to mold him into somebody that's a little bit more hardened to the realities of the world. But, you know, her version of that is much more evil and much harder than it probably needed to be. Yeah. Sequel idea, Keiji returns as Kagawa Kai's new leader, minus a couple fingers, finally gets his redemption arc over the course of the game, probably with a Noboru cameo. I wouldn't be upset with that. I think that'd be kind of neat if, like, Keiji takes over as the new leader and it maybe has his own arc towards redemption. I think that could be fun. And a good way to, yeah, bring back Noboru as well as a fan favorite and just be like, maybe Noboru kind of helps him get on his feet or something, you know, I don't know. Noboru owes him nothing for what it's worth, but yeah. Okay, JSI ends up being a pretty major team story-wise. In a lot of ways, JSI as a company, not necessarily the team, but JSI as a company is kind of like surrounds the main story in a lot of ways. And still at the end of the story, there's a lot of mystery surrounding JSI. And funny enough, like in a lot of ways, you know, Anaconda Corp is set up as like the obviously evil megacorp, but so is JSI. JSI, kind of you start out and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, Aisha's nice, Lavinia's nice, Gregor's, I guess, fine. But then, like, you kind of learn a bit more about Aisha and a bit more about Gregor, and you learn a bit more about JSI, and then obviously towards the end, you learn a lot more about JSI. And yeah, JSI is like the real evil of this whole thing. Like they're kind of the crux of the whole story. And Aisha's arc is really interesting because I went so up and down with her the whole time, which was very, I think it was well done, but we'll get to the ending of it. Right, yeah, the entire story happens because of Aisha. Right. Yeah, Lavinia, I guess, it's interesting because Lavinia serves as a bit of fan service. Like, I don't want to call her a filler character. She's amazing. Her character is the best. I do love that there are a couple moments where she does stick up for herself. But obviously she doesn't have too much of an arc individually. She is just kind of attached to the arcs of, you know, Aisha and JSI, and then obviously with Roshin as well. So she like orbits a lot of other arcs, but doesn't necessarily have the strongest one herself. With the exception of the very, very end of the game, where she is very clearly being set up to be a pretty interesting character in a theoretical sequel. Which, unfortunately, again, like, we don't know if we're ever going to get. But she is definitely... I feel like it was very intentional to set her up as a fan favorite and set her up as this, like, this cute little jelly bean of innocence that, you know, has this love arc with Roshin, and then to kill her off and then basically bring her back as potentially a primary villain, or maybe somebody that's imprisoned or whatever. Like, I don't know if they're going to go like the damsel in distress route or like the she is converted, like she's the new Mr. A route, you know? I don't know if you really get any leaning towards one way or the other there. But clearly she's being set up to be like, okay, we want everyone to love Lavinia so that when we kill her and bring her back in the next game, it hurts. And I agree with that. I think... a lot of my favorite stories have not happy endings, but endings that impact me. Like, I will say, this is a weird example. Final Fantasy 15, right? 14's the MMO? Yeah, 15. Final Fantasy 15, the boys club. The emo boys club. Final Fantasy 15 has, in my opinion, one of the better... more emotional second acts of really any story ever. And I hate what happens. It's not a happy ending. Like, there is happiness to be found in it, but it's really not a happy ending overall. And a lot of stuff that happens is not good. A lot of bad stuff happens. And like the bad guys win for a long time. And the ending is very bittersweet, I guess you would say. I will say, I will admit, I bawled at the end of Final Fantasy 15. I cried like a little baby, like for like a while. It messed me up for a solid week. And I still like thinking about it. You know, it sucks. Like, and Lavinia is kind of a similar thing where it's like, it's emotional. I'm connected to it. I don't like it, but it is telling a good story because it's emotional impact. And they did it on purpose, and I agree with the reason they did it. It's basically already confirmed that she's like the next Mr. A since she has the same symptoms as James in his flashbacks. Like the talking with the black screen. I would maybe need to go and look at that. I don't know if we have enough information to really confirm that or not. That she's having symptoms. Because we only get like one line with her, don't we? Where it's just like, where am I? What's happening? Which I think you could equate to, sure, James, yeah. I feel like that's a bit of a reach. I'm not saying that's not the case. But I view that more as just a confirmation that she is alive and she is somewhere she doesn't recognize. Probably with the aliens. With the Hollowed. That's my assumption, is that she is alive. She's presumably being captured by the aliens, or perhaps she's just waking up under a bunch of rubble, but I have a feeling it's more that they've captured her or something. But I wouldn't go so far as to say it's confirmed or at least heavily alluded to that she is undergoing the same symptoms as James. Not yet, anyway. I think it's certainly a possibility. I do think they're probably setting her up to maybe be like the next Mr. A, or do something interesting, you know, with her similar to that. But yeah, I don't think we have enough to go on. Yeah, that's what's happening, Ami. That's what's happening. Yeah. I think she's there to give a reason. Oh, she's there to give the Reapers a reason to get involved. I assume Aisha will approach them for help using some evidence that Lavinia is alive as incentive. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good draw to get them back in, because Roshin obviously has a very strong emotional connection to Lavinia, and outside of that, they probably don't. Frederick and Hiroshi kind of don't have any... Again, in a theoretical sequel, like Aisha coming to Roshin and being like, hey, Lavinia's alive and she needs your help. And then Roshin going to Frederick and Hiroshi and being like, hey, you guys need to help me. Like, we need to get Lavinia back. I think that is a very, very plausible and logical hook for, like, the next story. Yeah. Outside of that, though, yeah, so going to the individual characters, we've been talking a lot about Lavinia. Aisha is interesting because she's friends with Gage, and so, like, by extension, I want to like her because Gage likes her, and Gage seems like a good guy. But obviously, you know, her early fights, I guess you could say, with Ritsuko make me really not like her. And I think that's on purpose. She's really cold to Ritsuko, and you end up finding out that, like, she did know something this whole time. She did actually know what was going on. And so, like, she's kind of being shitty about that. You know, she has a little bit of I guess a redemption where, and we talked about this while it was happening, Aisha and Ritsuko end up starting to bond over the death of James. And that starts to blossom, and I really liked that. I thought that was like a good character development. But then Aisha drops the bomb that she actually does know what happened to James, and it's basically her fault. Which, of course, Ritsuko is not stoked about. And, like, I can respect to a certain degree that she did at least say it. It's better than not. But, like, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. You know? So Ritsuko's reaction is completely logical. And the like wrap up of their two stories makes perfect sense. But yeah, you end up really hating Aisha because obviously she is potentially why James died. And then also more or less why Lavinia died. Like, she just couldn't make the right choice to prioritize people over the company, and that got two very important characters killed off. So yeah, I think she's like a relatively good character in terms of like her writing and her arc. I do think it's interesting though that, yeah, she doesn't necessarily like with a lot of this, a lot of the characters don't learn their lesson by the end. Which I think is in part set up for a sequel. You don't want every thread to be tied up. For what it's worth, she does go back to try and save Lavinia, but unsuccessfully. Yeah, so I guess I would say her arc is not necessarily satisfying in the sense that, like, you know, if this were one game and there wasn't going to be a hook for a sequel, she should have learned her lesson by the end, said, screw the plans for the Echo, let's get Lavinia out of here, and then Lavinia should have lived. If we're trying to create a more condensed story, I think that would have been better. And I think a lot of people would still have that criticism, and to a degree I do too, because we might not ever get a sequel, so this might be what we're stuck with. But I do understand it, again, in the perspective of a sequel that we may never get. Aisha's problem is she has no good reason for most of the bad stuff she does. I don't know if I agree with that. She let James die and hid what happened to save her career. Spending time looking for Gage's journal instead of helping with the explosives proves she's learned nothing. I don't think that means she doesn't have a good reason, though. I think that is the reason, is she does it for her career. She's just too career focused. And, like, You see that throughout so much of the story is she's just too focused on her career. She's just too focused on finding answers. So I do agree that, like, it's a bummer she clearly didn't learn anything by the end. I agree with that part of it, but I wouldn't say she doesn't have, like, motivations that make sense. I think her motivations are pretty clear. It's just that, like, she's just too much of, like, a workaholic. She's too focused on the company. She's still too loyal to JSI, basically. But I think that is logical for her character. Yeah. My only thing with the next Mr. A theory is James was left behind, who then became Mr. A. Lavinia and Gabriel both got left behind. One can guess Gabe is past, or is he? And Lavinia has the "Where am I" dialogue. Yeah, I don't think Gabriel's done. That dude gets, like, squished flat by a I-beam. He's done. Yeah, Lavinia is obviously being set up for something. I think it's either she's just being captured and, like, tortured by the Hollowed, or they will, like, successfully turn her into their next puppet and she'll be, like, a main bad guy. Or is he? No. Gabriel's dead. If they bring Gabriel back, I will be upset. There's just no way. That dude gets straight smushed. I know alien tech's probably pretty good, but I think there's no way. I think if she had failed to get the Echo plans because she tried to save Lavinia but failed anyway, that would be a better ending for her. So kind of like she does it in the opposite order, where, like, yeah. I think that would have been a more satisfying ending, a more complete ending for her. Hold on, let me read what else he said. I think Aisha's motivations make sense, they just aren't good. Yeah, but I think that's fine. I don't think that means it's, like, a bad story. Gregor at least feels like he owes JSI for everything they've done for him. Aisha is almost as career focused as him for what feels like much less reason. I guess personally, I don't think she needs much of a reason. I think that's just, like, her character archetype. I've met a lot of people and know of a lot of people who are very loyal to their company for very stupid reasons in real life, you know? So that's just kind of how some people are. Some people are just very loyal to their company, even if their company's kind of a piece of shit. Yeah, so I don't necessarily think that her motivations aren't good, because I know a lot of real people that are like that. So I think it's just like, yeah, that's just how people are sometimes. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I hear you that she doesn't have, like, an express interest like Gregor does with the whole arms situation, but I don't think that doesn't I don't think it's like, oh, she needs. I know, I don't feel like her motivation is lacking, like she needs a reason. I think that's just kind of an inherent character trait that I do see in a lot of people in real life, so it's believable to me. And again, I think they do a good job of showing that throughout the story, that, like, she is just a workaholic and she just is loyal to her company. And I think that's kind of all you need. I think that's just, like, an inherent character trait that doesn't necessarily need a reason. But I do hear that. I do get it. I can see that perspective. Felt bad for Gabriel? Dude, same. Yeah, we'll get to him, because I've got some thoughts on him for sure. Yeah, Gabriel got edge runner Rebecca. Pretty much. Pretty much. I think it's believable. It just makes her unlikable. Yeah, which I think is on purpose. I think she is an unlikable character. Yeah. I don't think they were I think they succeeded in what they were trying to write her as, I guess is what I would say. I would say I think they wanted you to end up not liking her. And I don't. Which sucks, because she has a sick car. But, well, whatever. Gregor, he's, I guess, a little bit in the sidelines of these three. But again, like, he orbits a lot of the main stuff, and he does kind of take on some main stuff as well. Yeah, amazing song as well for Aisha. All three of these guys have great ones, but I think Aisha's my favorite. Gregor is like through and through just kind of an ass. So he's just written very much that way. I guess for him, the only major thing I would have liked to see is maybe slightly more payoff with the arms. There were a couple times where I thought the arms were going to be more of a problem. And they kind of, like, again, similar to Noboru, it's like they address it, but they could have dug that knife in a little bit deeper. I guess that's the kind of the only thing I'd say about Gregor. Otherwise, like CW is saying, like, his motivations make sense. He feels like he kind of has a debt to the company. He obviously, you know, kind of clashes with Aisha and sort of like takes over the mission in a sense. He clearly has a desire for power, which is something I think a lot of us can, you know, not relate to personally, but, you know, can relate to in the real world. That, you know, there are some people that just crave power and crave control, and he very much seems like that. Yeah, I guess I don't have too much to say about him. He doesn't really have much of an arc. I guess his major arc is that, like, he kind of gains control of his arms through the use of, like, the echo, sort of. But that's like a little bit, you know, like, it gives you a reason for his skill and ability and stuff like that. But yeah, he's more or less emotionally the same person at the beginning that he is at the end, I think. His situation has changed, but I don't think he, like, really develops too much as a character. Yeah. Should have made Gregor's arms be the bomb to blow up the exoport with. Gage said they could blow up the city. Yeah, I do wish, again, there was just a little more payoff with the arms. I wish they mattered a little bit more. Because, yeah, like you said, Gage says they could blow up a city. They're like, I feel like there's some line about them being, like, nuclear weapons attached to his arms or something like that. So, like, clearly, like, these things are a problem. I think, yeah, maybe it could have been more interesting if, yeah, he has to, like, remove one of his arms or something to be the detonator for the bomb. Or, you know, something like that. Something that, like, gives that sort of a final payoff. Yeah, the only thing Gregor develops is arm pain. Exactly. Yeah. Yes, an arming device to arm the bomb. I didn't even pick up on that. But yes, exactly. So yeah, I guess I'd say JSI is sort of a mixed bag where, like, they're very central to the story, and Aisha has a very interesting story with her relationship to James and Gage and JSI and the rest of her team. There's a lot of intrigue here, but you don't get a lot of satisfying payoffs with any of these characters. Because obviously Lavinia dies, Aisha turns out to be a huge ass, and Gregor is just kind of an ass the whole time. So you don't get any, like, good closure with these three. But there is a lot of good writing and good storytelling here, is what I would say. And good intrigue. Yeah. SFR. SFR is an interesting one. Hina is very much just kind of like a filler character, fairly one note. She's great. She's like sort of a companion to Lavinia, and just like when they're on screen, you're having a good time. But she just doesn't, you know, die at the end. She kind of is the Lavinia that didn't die. She's really fun, but like obviously she doesn't have too much of her own arc. She doesn't have too much of her own thing going on, which is fine. Again, when you have 15 plus characters, It's okay to have some characters that are just there for like comedic relief to a certain degree. Um, I mean, yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Rec. So she's just kind of there, but like she's really fun. She's well written. Yeah, right, Rec. Yeah, it's fun when she's on screen. She has some great lines. So like no real complaints with Hina. And I'm okay. You know, sure, in a perfect world, would every character have like an amazing story arc? Yeah, but also that'd be a lot to juggle, and I'm okay with her just kind of being like almost the rock of SFR and like this grounding point. Um, Akane, I guess, is also kind of interesting because she has a little bit of an arc, but I feel like it sort of just fizzles out. It sort of just like reaches this soft conclusion and then gets set aside, which is fine, I guess. But she, early on, I feel like she is a stronger character. And then she has the whole breakup situation. And they have that mission. There's like a mission to like make her feel better, right? There's a mission with that for Ritsuko as well. But isn't there also a mission where they're trying to like make her feel better after the breakup too? I feel like I remember a side mission about that. And then I think that like happens, and then she just kind of like takes a step to the side so that the story can focus on Ritsuko again. Yeah, exactly. TMK. Akane kind of disregarded her issues for the sake of their mission pretty much later on. Right. So I feel like Akane, she for the first half of the story, I think she's in a pretty good place, and there's some level of intrigue with kind of what's going on with her and her relationship to SFR and her relationship with her ex-girlfriend. But it doesn't really lead anywhere. It just kind of ends up in like, yep, that happens, but we still all love each other, and now let's focus on Ritsuko. So yeah, she sort of gets sidestepped in the second half of the story. Which, yeah, I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more. I'm okay with her stepping to the side in the second half, but I wish she maybe got a little bit more of a satisfying conclusion, I guess, to that all. Instead of just like, well, yeah, like, you broke up, deal with it. Okay, bye. Yeah, it would have been nice to get, again, maybe like a more solid conclusion to her arc. But I don't, with Hina and Akane, like, I'm fine with them. I don't have any major issues with them. It's just that, like, Akane gets underused in the second half, and Hina doesn't really have much of an arc, but she's just there for fun. Ritsuko, she's also, like, very, I mean, obviously she's the leader, very, like, central to the main story. Her story's actually, I think her story's also really good. I honestly don't know if I have too many issues with that, with her. I think I kind of like her story through and through. Yeah, so she's got a secret relationship with James, who worked with Aisha and Gregor, and then obviously died. She is, stricken about the death. She thinks something more must be going on. She asks Aisha about it. Aisha's really cold about it, which makes her frustrated. She's just kind of, she spends a good chunk of the story dealing with the death of her, I think, fiance. I think they ended up being fiance at some point, but her lover, her secret lover. I think she's pretty well written early on. She's pretty well written throughout the whole thing. I think her character makes sense. Her character makes choices that I agree with. And then at the end, I mean, I kind of understand where she's at. Like, she sees her love again, and she, wants to save him. And it's Gage, right? Yeah, Gage holds her back and is like, no, there's no saving him. I'm very curious where they're going to leave that for her, because she, if I'm remembering the end, correct, like the final details, she ends the story pretty pissed. She does not see Gage's perspective by the end. I think she's just kind of like, she leaves on the shuttle. She's sad about James. Yeah, that's right. One of her last lines is like, I forgave you for killing James once, but I won't forgive you for it again. Or something like that, which I think is actually a really good line and like really poignant. And again, like I fully agree with that. It's tough because I agree with Gage, but I also agree with her of like, I put myself in Ritsuko's shoes. I would be livid with Gage, even though I still think Gage is right, because Gage saw James go through that transformation. Gage knows that James is probably just not there anymore, and it is just, the hollowed or whatever. This vessel for the hollowed. So, but I think that's like really well told, and I think again it does kind of set you up a little bit for the sequel in the sense that like she's pissed, and she has really every reason to be pissed, because she just found out not that long ago that like Aisha basically killed her the first time. Gage, oh that's right, it wasn't Aisha and Gregor, it was Aisha and Gage. Yeah, I was getting my G's messed up. Also because Gage isn't here. But yeah, Gage doesn't even like know. I don't think does Gage ever know that Aisha made the wrong choice? I don't think he does. Whoa, wait, hold on. Yeah, and Ami brings a good point. When it comes to losing someone, all reason goes to hell. Yeah, absolutely. But I actually didn't know that, CW. Tragically, Gage is wrong. James was trying to say Ritsuko's name when he got shanked by the queen. I don't think I picked up on that. Hold on, can we go back and watch that again? Shoot, is that after? No, that's not after the credits. Will we have to like play something to get to that? Hold on. I totally think I missed that. Interesting. Wait, so is it Wake Up or is it Queen? It's got to be Queen, right? Because this is kind of where it is. Hold on, let's play this. That does very much change my perspective on things a little bit. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. All right, let's relive some trauma real quick. Okay. Yeah, you almost don't even hear it in the voice. You just get the subtitle for it. Oh, it's cool to see the queen again. What an interesting character. Just gonna let this play out until maybe the whole way through. Wow. Okay. That's actually some very relevant context. Yeah, so he's definitely trying to save Ritsuko. I wonder, can you hear that? Turn it up a little bit. I feel like you don't hear him say it. I just hear grunts. I just hear but the subtitle clearly implies it. Interesting. So yeah, I would go so far as to say that Gage is wrong. I think that still is enough. Whoops, I don't want to. I do think that is enough to say that. That's interesting. Now, I wonder if there's, and I don't know if it necessarily matters. He's obviously dead now. But I do wonder if the reason for him kind of waking up and not being Mr. A anymore is because, like, the transfer happens. Like, Like, do you think, like, it's the queen in his body? Is it the queen that's, like, inhabiting him? And then the transfer is complete and she transfers to the new body? And then that's why he wakes up as himself? You think that's possible? Because the alternative to that is that he is just some random hollowed, right? Oh, CW says, I don't think anyone is in his body. He's basically being remote controlled. My perspective is I feel like... I mean, I could certainly see that. I guess my thinking... I'd have to think on this more, but my logic is that... there is, like, a hollowed in his body. Sure, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, TMK says they say we a lot, so it's probably them as a whole. I also think that could be the queen, though. Because the queen would talk like that, like her people, you know? Okay, yeah, they hint at it with some of the dialogue, I think. Strings being pulled from a million miles away. Okay. He does say multiple voices. Yeah, so maybe it is just like a remote mind control thing. I don't know how solid I am on that, though. I'm coming around to it a little bit. But I guess why I'm trying to hold on to it a little bit is that, like, the whole thing with the hollowed is that that's kind of their ability. They can take over a body. And that's, like, what their whole thing is about. Now, that might extend to multiple. They might have multiple kind of different ways to do that. But we obviously know that, like, the main motivation for them is they're trying to get all these clones that don't already have, like, minds in them so that they can, like, transfer into those bodies. So my perspective was kind of like Cyberpunk. Kind of like Cyberpunk with V and Johnny. Where V is, like, Johnny was not ever supposed to be plugged in to a person's brain. Someone else's brain. That's not how it's supposed to work. But because Johnny is trying to fill the space that already exists as V, as a character, they kind of have this struggle and battle, and eventually Johnny wins, basically. And I kind of saw that James was in the same boat. That, like, there is a hollowed trying to be in his body, and it's two minds trying to occupy one body. And then eventually that, you know, the hollowed wins. But I do see from the writing and, yeah, from, like, the use of we and voices, you know, I do see the other side of that as well. I think that maybe makes a little more sense. Sure, Impression is more like the antagonist in Mass Effect 2, where it's just Reaper mind control. Especially when he drops the pretense and starts referring to self as we. My fun headcanon might still be that it's the queen. Just because I like that thought. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. I think what you guys are proposing is probably the truth. I think that is probably what the story actually is. But I'm going to think on that a little bit more. And think, like, is it possible that it is specifically the queen? And then when the transfer completes, that's why he wakes up as James. But that also would make sense if it's just a generic mind control thing of like, hey, we don't need him anymore. Yeah. Right, Ami. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's certainly some room for interpretation. We might figure it out if we ever get a second game. Yeah, we really don't know anything about the Hollowed. Like, we see the Queen, and that's it. And we don't know if that's the Queen's, like... Yeah, I guess that's a good point. We don't even know if that's, like, what the Queen naturally looks like. Presumably... That's actually... You know, I haven't thought about that. Because my assumption is that, like, if they're taking the bodies of these clones, then they should just look like humans. But she obviously doesn't look human. I don't think that's what the clone looks like. So the option is either A, when they take over a body, they also change the physical appearance. And maybe, like, she's the queen, so she's hyper powerful, so, like, she can do that. But yeah, I wonder why she looks like that. If she is just, like, mind transferring herself into a clone, why does she look like that? She looks relatively human. I can imagine some rich woman wanting their new body to look like that. Yeah, that's not impossible. You're not necessarily wrong about that. That could just be, like... What they, yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah. Yeah, but I do wonder if we ever get a second game, I'm sure we'll figure that out. Yeah, huh. Okay, anyway, we gotta get back to this. We'll get back to the ending, though. But that is very interesting. I'm really, really glad we did this and I learned about that. Because, yeah, I did not think of the perspective. I didn't realize that James did have a moment of being James again at the end. And that makes Ritsuko's side so much more heartbreaking because she was right. She was right. There was something they could have gone back. Now, granted, they would have died. The Queen probably would have, like, insta-killed them with mind powers. If they would have stayed to get James, they probably would have died. So, you know, is she right in the sense that he had a redeeming quality about him? Yes. Could she have actually saved him? Up for interpretation. Probably not. Just based on how slim the timing was for everything. I'm very curious now, again, if we ever get a second game or even second piece of media. If they, like, do a follow-up, you know, animated short or something like that. I'm curious if we'll ever find an answer. Or sorry, if Ritsuko and Gage will ever find an answer to the end of James. Or if that's it. Because, like, he's pretty definitively killed. He's stabbed by, like, a large chunk of metal or something. I don't think there's any way they're bringing him back. It very clearly was like a, we don't need you anymore. Blech. But he's so critical to the story that I wonder if we will get, like, reverberated answers. That's a weird way to say that. There will be kind of like a reverberation of his, you know, of his story throughout the second game, even though he doesn't exist as a character in the second game. Presumably. Yeah. Yeah, and that Aisha let him die, right, which he... Well, yeah, does he know that? He might already know that. Although, I guess probably not. Because for all he knows, they, like, tried to get to him, but they couldn't. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did know. Because, like, obviously, Aisha turned off the radio so that they wouldn't hear him die. Which is brutal, by the way. So maybe he knew. Maybe he was screaming, help, help, help. And not getting an answer and was like, what the hell, are they not coming for me? So... Huh. Yeah, I don't know. I could see it both ways. I don't know if he was speaking from Ritsuko coming back perspective. Oh, sure. The Queen would definitely bring that up in an encounter. Which I think she could have. Because, so what does James mean? This is important. And I don't know if I ever really figured this out. What does Gage mean when he says, I need you to do me a favor, but I can't know about it? The favor is strongly implied, and I think is pretty easily understood to be inviting Aisha to the tournament. That's what I thought, right? Because after that line, Gage sits down and writes the note inviting Aisha to the tournament, right? So what's going on in that situation? Because I think the favor he's trying to imply is, hey, I need to see Aisha. But, like, the queen can't know about it, or something like that. Like, you can't tell me... Yeah, there's a mystery behind that. That I feel like there maybe is an answer to, but I don't know what it is. Like, it's very clearly that he needs Gage to do something for him that the Hollowed can't know about. And James knows that. So he's like, hey, I need you to do something for me. And you know me well, so you know what that thing is. But I can't know about it. Because if I know about it, then the Hollowed will know about it, and it will screw it up somehow. And I think what that thing is writing the note to Aisha to invite her to the tournament. So for some reason, James does want Aisha back, but it's James that wants Aisha back, not the Hollowed. But we don't assume that... It doesn't seem like that's for any bad reasoning. It doesn't assume, like, I want Aisha back so I can kick her ass. Like, it seems like... yeah, can we replay that? That's the post-credits scene, isn't it? Whoops. So we actually see that at the very beginning in the story. Can we play through that? I wanna see that again. This is kind of a longer cutscene, but I wanna look at this. Okay, maybe we can skip through here. Because there's a lot of, like, disorienting... Oh, well, okay. Alright, well, we skipped it. Okay, hold on. I guess we have to go through that dialogue section. We'll see. I don't think it's too long. Let's see if we can just kind of, like, tap through it. Can I... Well, okay.
What is this? Please.
We'll just skip the trauma, the torment. Because I will say, for my queen theory, that sounds like a female voice. So it kind of seems like it's her talking. Could be. We don't really know what she sounds like, but... And she clearly speaks... Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Obviously, they're using us, and I think that could kind of be interpreted both ways.
Quiet.
Okay.
Please.
Maybe the favor would be that Gage should leave him behind, as James no longer believes he will survive the Hollowed. Okay, so maybe it doesn't have to do with Aisha, and the favor is just like... The favor is that moment we get at the end where Gage is like, nope, it's not him anymore. We need to go. We need to leave him. I could see that. Let's play through it real quick, just so it's fresher in our mind. I think we have to get through a little bit here.
Gage, and who might you be? In my best moments, an old friend.
Okay, so this is the reveal.
I heard the first
time.
beacon.
Yeah, so he touched the beacon.
Inside my head. They killed me. Quiet,
Jesus.
please. Is that them? Always. A screamer tournament.
Yeah, so he's kind of... That language does certainly imply, like multiple people in his mind.
Why do they want to scream a tournament? Because I don't know how to build. Gage,
Talking about that.
You believe them? I have to believe.
I think it's coming up.
James, it happened again. I'm afraid. How long were they? About
2 minutes.
Double the last. How are you getting the money? There are some.
Don't worry about it.
It worked.
It's not here.
I don't care. But it wouldn't.
It's back in the garage. It's this scene. Okay, here it is.
I need another favor. What is it? That's the thing. I can't know.
Gage leaving him behind would be canceling the tournament. Remember, he thought about doing that, Mr. A. I'm thinking like at the very end. At the very end, like on the space station, Gage pushes to leave him behind. That's what I'm getting from that. Because yeah, I agree. Earlier wouldn't make sense. Too much for my smooth brain. I know. Okay, so he says, I'm sorry, but I need another favor. What is it? That's the thing I can't know. Then what?
Where am I?
Okay, so we don't get the letter right after. We get him blacking out for a lot more time. The announcer being like, sick.
Bloody telling you, so stop fucking asking. Fermi, wait, it's me. How long?
We don't, I guess, know what's being implied here. Not bloody telling you, so stop fucking asking. This, though, implies that it has to do with that favor. Yeah, that's Mr. A prodding about the favor. That's very much what I think that is. 100%. And then he's like, wait, no, I'm back, it's me. I was out.
2 days.
No, 2 days.
Thank you.
So they're bringing it up again.
Of course. Despite everything, I'm glad I got to see you.
So we have a scene transition. He says, thank you, despite everything, I'm glad to... And I wonder if that's a thank you for the favor? Or just a generic thankful, like thank you for setting this all up. Which I think it very well could be.
It did me good to see some of the old crew. Where?
Okay, then we get the...
How long has it? No! I am...
Oh, hold on. Shit. Shit. Dang it, there's no way to go back in scenes, is there?
No. I am in control.
I wanted to see if you could see something in the pod there. It almost looked like you could. Is this then where we get the letter being written? Yes.
Aisha. It's been ages. We know whose fault that is, don't we? What we've been through. The way we lost James.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there is a soft...
At least it should.
There is at least a soft implication that the favor has to do with reaching out to Aisha.
That doesn't mean it wasn't cruel to you.
Because I don't know what else it would be.
I have a feeling I can make it up to you.
And we obviously are getting the letter being written while we're seeing James turn into Mr. A.
Consider this your personal invitation. If you join, I can promise. The last 3 years won't hurt so much when you
think that that's the favor.
Until we next meet.
I guess the question becomes then, like, why? Why was that the favor? And why couldn't the Hollowed know about it? Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing I'm struggling with, is I don't know why then at that point. Okay, real quick, I need to go back through that again. Because I want to see if there's something you can see in that pod. Actually, can you find that just from the story unlocks? Hold on. if you can, then it might not even be anything. Gallery, artwork, the tournament, I think. I feel like that is it, but I swear I saw like a body in that. For my own sanity, let me just go through it again real quick. It's probably totally nothing. But I just want to look at it real quick. We're gonna have to go through the pain again. Yes, more horror. Am I hyped for Horizon 6? No, what's that?
Quiet. For me.
Maybe James hopes that the joined forces of Gage and Aisha can somehow save him. Right.
Gage.
I could very much see that being the case. Also, yes, of course I'm excited for Horizon 6. The favor's not being asked by James, it's being asked by Mr. A. I don't think that's true. I think it's James asking the favor. No, I don't think that, yeah, I don't think that's true, Brotatoes. Protatoes. I think it's James asking the favor, and he wants to make sure Mr. A doesn't know.
The moment I touched it, they killed Quiet.
Is that a screw of all things? Because I
Gage,
you believe
I have to believe.
Yeah.
It happened to how
but double.
Okay, we're getting close to it.
It
I know I'm gonna like skip by it again on accident.
I'm sorry, but
what is it?
Yeah, this is James asking the favor.
that's the thing. I can't know.
And trying to hide it from Mr. A. Okay, we're getting this little side thing.
If Gage think
Not blood.
This is where Mr. A is seemingly trying to prod him about what the favor is.
How long? How long? Two days.
Okay, I think we're getting close to it.
Thank you.
Of course.
Despite
Okay.
it did me good. Where?
It's right around here.
How long has it?
This is gonna be all this work for nothing.
I am in control.
Okay.
I am James Edgeworth.
It is actually slightly different, for what it's worth. This is slightly different art than what you get in the unlock. But it still isn't anything useful. I knew there was more detail to it. I knew I, like, saw something to that. But I skipped by it so quick. I was like, is there a body in there? But no, it's just like a generic fog. Whereas if you go to the unlocks, it is kind of just like it's just a blank tank. It's like different art from a slightly different perspective. Which is kind of interesting. I wonder if that's like earlier concept art and then they kept working on it or something like that. There's Gabriel under there somewhere. Okay. All right, let's go back to the characters.
Gage's workshop.
Let's go back to the characters. So yeah, I'm just so curious. Yeah, what I think my most likely theory is what I think CW is saying, that he wants to just get JSI involved because he hopes that JSI can help him. I think that's maybe my most likely theory, is that James is just trying to reach out to JSI. Although that's also tricky because the Hollowed obviously benefit from JSI being involved. So I would say it's maybe not specifically JSI, but is specifically to Aisha. I'm going back to that. I'm going back to James wanted to make sure that Aisha was involved because maybe he had some hope that Aisha could help him. Yeah. Is there any possibility... this is why, like, I almost want to play through the game again. Although I guess you can kind of skip through the cutscenes a little bit. When SFR is getting into the competition, is there at any point a moment? Because Gage tries to kick. Gage doesn't want SFR in the competition. Like, from the beginning, right? And he tries to, like, kick him out multiple times kind of because of Aisha. But doesn't he know the whole time that Ritsuko and James had a relationship? Or does he not know? He doesn't know that? When does he... Aisha knows the whole time. Aisha knew the whole time. Yeah, that's right. Aisha and Ritsuko talk about it. Yeah. Gage does not know the whole time. Right, okay. Right. Because I was wondering if maybe there's like a seemingly throwaway line at the beginning of SFR entering the competition of like, oh, hey, I don't want you here, but I owe someone a favor. Like, maybe that the favor was like, hey, I want to try and see Ritsuko again. Right, CW. Yeah, I'm with you on that now. Yeah. I was getting confused with Aisha knowing about it the whole time versus Gage knowing about it the whole time. But yeah, Aisha knew, he didn't. And yeah, Aisha was manipulating the hell out of him. But that'd be the only thing. That'd be the only thing is like that. The only other theory for what the favor could be is like, hey, I want to try and see Ritsuko again, but like, I can't know about it because if I know about it, then Mr. A knows about it. And I don't want Mr. A to know about like Ritsuko because I don't want Ritsuko to get hurt or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, lots of talk about Ritsuko's story. And I mean, obviously, her story is so connected to, like, the main arc. But yeah. Yeah, There's a lot more questions now that I'm kind of peeling it apart. Of the dynamic with Mr. A and James, realizing that, yeah, he is James, basically, at the end, and Ritsuko was right to want to save him. Yeah. Wait, what can't be true? That can't be true. They know about Ritsuko, which is why they came and found her when she was talking to James that night. Okay, what was that scene? What happened there? You're saying that can't be true in the sense that the favor cannot be about Ritsuko, I believe. They know about Ritsuko, which is why they came and found her when she was talking to James that night. What scene is that? I'm blanking on what happens in that moment. The scene where they said, you know he can't hear you. I don't remember that. I'm sure it happened. Obviously. Where do you have any idea like where that is so we can maybe pull it up? Who is saying, you know he can't hear you? Mr. A? When Ritsuko is looking at the stars talking to James. Yeah, when does that happen? Mr. A all of a sudden left when she said it's not his business. Okay, yeah, so that must have been earlier then, right? Because that was before we knew that was James. How How do I... Here we go. Ritsuko has a heart-to-heart? Finally reveals ulterior motives. Take revenge on an adversary. Back to make a pact. Yeah, I don't know if we could either... I don't know if we could get to that without playing a mission or what mission that takes place in. I have, like, the vaguest of vague recollections of it. But, yeah. I don't think it's a mission one. Yeah, if anybody can find it, I would definitely like to play it back again. Just to see. So what happens is that... what happens is that Ritsuko is just looking up at the stars, talking to herself, but talking to James. And then Mr. A comes up and says, you know he can't hear you, right? I don't think that necessarily disproves that. And again, let me say first, I don't necessarily think that the favor is about Ritsuko. I still think it's about Aisha, which is why we get the letter writing to Aisha there. But I also think, you know, there's a I don't think that writes off the thought that it could be about Ritsuko. But I would need to see the scene again. That said, we're going off a little bit of time, but we're getting too much into main story stuff, which I guess is fine. But I do want to wrap up at least with the rest of the characters here. Isn't the Hollowed always there? No. I think Brotatoes. So my perspective on this, and I think what a lot of people have the perspective on, is that James is in control, and in those times it's James, and then sometimes it flips and it's the Hollowed are in control. And that does happen before his hair turns white. We know that happens before his hair turns white. Now, whether or not he's... That's like, you know, whether or not he knows that he's Mr. A at that point, you know, whatever. I think the transformation to Mr. A is certainly complete when his hair turns white. But he is basically, like, becoming Mr. A long before that. Like, when he's blacked out and losing control, he's like, acting as Mr. A. But yeah. I think they're always listening, though, regardless, which is why they have his memories. But he can't know that they know. Yeah, so... Yes, which is why he can't know about the favor. Because if James knows about the favor, then the Hollowed will know about the favor. Yeah, I do agree with that. That's why he can't know about the favor. Because if he knows, then the Hollowed will know. I think that's what the whole premise of that is. Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree. Yeah, I do agree with that. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to Anaconda. Let's talk about Anaconda. We're going to end with Gabriel. Dirk, I think, is pretty simple. Dirk is very similar to Hina in a sense where just a fun side character. Yeah. I assume, sorry, it's hard for me not to, I know I don't want to just like cut off the conversation because there's good conversation happening, but yeah, I assume the Hollowed know what he asked for, but not what Gage actually did about it. Maybe. My perspective is more so that he knows that Gage knows him. I don't think he ever actually asked a favor. I don't think he ever said what it is. I think he said, hey, I need a favor, but I can't know about it. And that alone should be enough for you to know what that favor is because you know me. I think that's what happened. That was his way of making sure that Mr. A / the Hollowed didn't know what the favor is. That's my perspective on it. I think he said what it is, but if he said what it is, then what's the point of saying, but I can't know about it? Unless you're saying, I can't know about the results of it, of if it was successful. But I don't think I agree with that. Because I think even knowing what the favor is enough for the Hollowed to be like, well, yeah, okay, we know what you're up to. Yeah, I'm maintaining, at least in my head, that he does not say what the favor is. But we'll see. We'll see. It'd be sick if there was some DLC for this. Yeah, I think they said there wouldn't be, unfortunately. You guys are maybe a little bit more plugged in than I am to like what the dev updates are, but I feel like I remember there being something about some official word of like, no, there's not going to be story DLC for this. Which is sad. Because I would love, yeah, obviously I'd love some more content. I'd love a second game, ultimately. But yeah. Depends what the favor was. If it was something like hide this thing somewhere, sure, that's a good point, yeah. Then the only thing James can't know is the where. Yeah, very good point. I maintain, again, I think there's no solid answer. I think that the reality is there is no solid answer. I think it's meant to be up to interpretation. Not even up to interpretation. I think it's meant to be a mystery as to what the favor was, to a degree. But I think the most reasonable thing, if they're leaning towards anything, it has to do with Aisha. Because I think that just the way they shoot those scenes and the way they time those scenes, it seems like that is what the favor has to do with. Where he's literally writing the note to Aisha while James is completing his final transformation into Mr. A. So I think for me, the only thread to pull on there is that the favor is asking Gage to reach out to Aisha. But yeah. Rotate, I certainly hope that's the case. I agree that I do think they were very confident about the game. Unfortunately, I think they were a little blindsided by how not well it's done. Now, we could all be wrong. I don't think it did well, and I think most people have the impression of it didn't do that well, but really a lot of that is just being based on like Steam reviews. Steam reviews imply that the game on Steam has sold like 25,000 copies. Which, if you also say, okay, the game came out on console, you multiply that by, you multiply that by 3, and then you assume that usually console, especially for games like this, kind of sell a little bit more. You say, okay, this game sold like 100,000 copies. I feel like that's like honestly a reasonable guess. Is this game sold about 100,000 copies? Hopefully it sold like way better on consoles. And maybe, it's at like 200,000, 250,000, who knows? But I think a reasonable assumption is that it sold somewhere between like maybe 100,000 to 200,000 copies, which is probably below what they wanted. Because if you think about that, 100,000, let's just say 100,000 because it's a nice, easy number. That would mean if they sold it at $60, and we'll just take an average of 60, because there are collector's editions and deluxe editions and regional price. There's a lot that goes into that, but we'll just say $60. Then that means you're looking at $6 million, right? 100,000 to $1 million to say, yeah. So you're looking at $6 million. Platforms take, 20 to 30% of that. So we're looking at $4 to $5 million at most, maybe. I think like the game has profited probably around $4 million bucks, and then obviously you have to think about like marketing costs and you know all the costs. Like, have they even made their money back? If they've profited about $4 million, which I feel like is a roughly reasonable guess. And I would say no. I would say this game probably cost a lot more than $4 million. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe not. But, I mean, you kind of just start to do a rough cost breakdown, and that money disappears pretty dang quick. My guess is this is probably closer to like a $10 to $20 million game. That'd be my guess. And maybe that's a little bit high. I'd hope that's a little bit high. But I don't think it is. So we'll see. We'll see. If this game fails, I'm just going to assume racing game fans hate racing games at this point. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, honestly, like, the amount of like completely unjustified hate I've seen for this game is crazy. Like, not everyone needs to like this game. It is definitely a game made for a specific audience. It absolutely is. And it's okay if you don't like it. I understand if you don't like the handling. I understand if you don't like the visual novel, kind of anime-leaning story. What I don't understand is people not respecting that they tried something. And they did something unique and cool. You didn't see any hate? Keep looking. Go to like the Built from the Ground Up subreddit, the racing game subreddit, any other like racing social pages. Go to the Steam forums for this game. There is a lot. Go to some of the reviews for this game. There is a lot of hate for this game. Now, funny enough, it seems to me like 90% of it is from people who didn't play the game or played it for like 5 minutes and then gave up. Almost everyone I've seen that's actually played the game loves the game. But that's also sort of like a, what's the term? Like a survivorship bias sort of thing. Like, if you don't like the game, you're not going to finish the game. If you like the game, you're going to keep going. I don't touch Reddit. Good on ya. Keep it that way. But yeah, even if you look at like Steam reviews for this game, it's sitting at about 80%. It floats right around 80%. And what you see in the Steam reviews is a lot of reviews, 4 out of 5 reviews are like, this game is awesome. It's, I would describe it as like a flawed masterpiece. Like, this game is so great. It's one of the better, more unique arcade games I've played. And then the other like 20% is like, this is the worst game I've ever played. It's woke. It's anime cringe garbage. It's slop. It's whatever stupid like people just coming up with the most insane reasons for why they hate this game for no good reason. Yeah, so it's very polarizing. The game has been very polarizing throughout like all the online discussion. And also the pricing discussion, which has more validity to it than a lot of the other stuff. But a lot of people have been like really pissed about the price, which I've said my piece on. We won't go into it, at least not right now. I think, sure, the game, probably would have done better if it was marketed at like 40 or 50 bucks. And I think that would have been a smarter choice. But I also think like the quality of the game, and honestly the amount of game you get, is worth 60 bucks to me. I don't think there's a big issue inherently with the price of the game, but I also see where people come outside of regional pricing. Regional pricing, there are inherent issues. I will say that. The game is priced too high in some regions where they didn't do good regional pricing. That's an inherent issue with the pricing model of the game. But for $60 US, I think this is a game worth $60 US, personally. This is one of the best arcade racing games I've ever played in my life. Bar none. It's one of the most unique. This game's going to stick with me. This is one of those games I am going to, and already have, absorbed into my personality. And, like, this is now one of those games I've played. This is another, like, Underground 2 to me. This is another, you know, I don't know, Burnout Paradise to me. This is another Midnight Club 3 to me. Yeah, most people are probably waiting for a sale. That's what a lot of people said, but the game's on sale right now. Not a lot of extra people have seemingly bought it. The game is currently 20% off, so it's like $48. And I did not see reviews or purchases shoot up, unfortunately. I'm sure it gave it a little bit of a bump, but not a lot. Definitely not a lot. Yeah, so I don't know. You can count on the racing game community to have bigoted opinions. Oh yeah. I've seen a lot of discussion about how, like, woke this game is, which I don't want to get too far into the politics thing, but let me just at least blanket say I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, yeah. But, you know, that's unfortunately some of the landscape around gaming, is people are like, oh, there's women and non-white people in my video game? Get over yourself. Dude, TMK, I said that exact same thing the other day on Reddit, actually. Maybe you saw the post. Because I know I think actually CW Rules was in that Reddit post, because I feel like I saw somebody that I recognized. But yeah, there was a post on, I think, Built from the Ground Up that was like, have you bought Screamer yet? And I commented and I said, yeah, it's one of the best games I've played. This is going to be one of those games that in 10 years, people are going to be wondering why games aren't made like this anymore. It's going to be the next Split Second. It's going to be the next Blur. It's going to be the next, you know, something like that. Okay, maybe it wasn't UCW. It's somebody that I, like, recognized from the Discord. Or from Twitch chat. But yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that in 10 years, people are going to be talking about this game like they're talking about Split Second now, and like Drive Club, and like all these kind of AA games that did some cool stuff and really connected with some people, but, you know, they had a flawed launch for one reason or another, or you know, they just got, you know, outcompeted by like the bigger games. Like one of the reasons that, you know, like Juiced and Split Second and Blur like didn't work is because like Need for Speed was big at the time, and like, you know, Need for Speed just kind of outcompeted them, especially with Juiced and a little bit with Blur. Split Second's kind of its own situation, but yeah, and I'll say this for my piece on the price thing. I kind of have two minds about it. And I want to preface this. I've talked about this already, so sorry I'm repeating this. But we're talking about it, so whatever. But for me, understand, A, this comes from a privileged perspective. Now, I did spend $200 on this game. I bought a review code, or I bought a review code. I got a review code for the game, so technically I got it for free. And they sent me a collector's edition, which I need to give out, by the way. But I still spent $200 of my own money to buy this game. So but also understand that, like, again, I am a YouTuber. I was sponsored to do videos on this early on, but again, I chose that sponsor because I liked the game. There's a collector's edition? Yeah, dude, it's sick. I have two of them. I'll show you some of one of them. So this is what comes included in the collector's edition. This amazing model of the hero car. Incredibly cool, good size model of the hero car. You also get a good size model of Hiroshi to go with it, right there. You get, let's see, what else? Put my things back here. I haven't even read this yet. There we go. You get a comic that has some like prequel info on Noboru and kind of the whole Kagawa Kai team. So you get like a really nice comic that kind of gives you some story there. You get this little fella. Hold on, guys, real quick. My kid is like crying for me right out my door. I'm just gonna go say hi to her and check in real quick. Oh yeah, my camera's still all out of focus. Anyway, that's something else you get with the collector's edition. And then you get like a bunch of, you get a steel case for the game. You get a steel case version of the game. It's right there. I'm not gonna grab it because whatever. But yeah, you get a steel case for the game, and then you get like a bunch of stickers, and you get these like art cards, these like hollow foil art cards that have like the character and then their car on the other side. I think it's a really good collector's edition. It's really cool. But yeah, the car is obviously that's the big sell right there, is the car model. But anyway, that said, the price conversation. Understand that I'm coming at this from a bias, is what I wanted to get at. I'm of two minds with it, where on the one hand, I think paying $60 for 70 hours of entertainment, which is what I have so far gotten out of the game, is extremely worth it. You know, I pay $60 for dinner sometimes. Now, usually not just for me, but you know, for me and my wife, I'll pay $60 for like a 2-hour dinner, which also feels worth it. So for me, like, spending $60 to get 70 hours worth of entertainment, and then even more because I'm going to continue playing this game, that feels like a good use of my money. $60 to be entertained for 70 hours feels worth it. Also, speaking back to like games like Split Second and Blur, those games were also like $60. Most games back in the day were still $50 to $60. Because games have just kind of always been $50 to $60. And so for this game to come out now at $60 is cheaper than it was like 20 years ago, when other games were coming out at $60. So that's my one perspective of it. That's my one side where I'm like, okay, yeah, it's $60. Like don't get me wrong, $60 is a not insignificant amount of money for most people, even for me. But I do think that this is a valuable way to spend $60. I think you are getting your purchase worth, getting your dollars worth for $60. However, again, within the scope of video games, there are so many video games out there. So many. And a lot of them are pretty dang cheap. You can get Silk Song for $20. You can, on sale, you can get like Need for Speed Heat, Need for Speed Unbound, and Need for Speed like 2015 for like $5 a piece when they go on sale. So, you know, you can get like Horizon 5 on sale for like, I think $30-$40. So that's the other flip side of it. And like TXR, for example, TXR is what, $40-$50 at full price, and also has gone on sale. So that's the flip side to it, is like, although I think in a vacuum this game is easily worth $60, when you do look at its price compared to literally everything else that's out there, not literally everything, but the majority of what's out there, when you're like, how do I best spend my $60? Yeah, there's probably going to be a better way to spend your $60 because games go on sale. Games that are a few years old are usually, you know, cheaper. You know, I think like the base edition of Starfield is like $50 at this point. Now, granted, they have a deluxe edition that's $80 or something like that, or maybe it's $70. But yeah, older games get cheaper, and so paying $60 when you could spend like $5 to get Unbound and also have fun for a long time, like it's tough at that point to make an argument for a $60 game, which again is why like I kind of see in the middle of it that yeah, like the game should have been $40 to $50. I think in a perfect world. I think that would price it a little bit more competitively. I think Evie, no barking. Everyone in my house is just yelling, yelling and crying and barking. So yeah, I think that if you kind of compare both sides of that, I think like yeah, $45 would have been the correct price for this, especially with the understanding that like Horizon was looming. And like, hey, we need to make this especially appealing for Horizon, because there are so many comments I've seen from people that are, oh, I would have bought this, but I need to save my money for Horizon. And of course, like that makes total sense. People can't be, while I do think that gaming as a hobby is generally cheap compared to other interests, a lot of other interests that provide a similar level of entertainment, that still doesn't mean people are going to be dropping $60+ like every month for new games. And like there's also a time consideration as well. Like you got to make it enticing. And I do think that 60 is just kind of that cutoff of like, oh, it's a full-priced game. I can't afford a full-priced game right now. It's almost like that discussion that happened around that RV game where they were like, we priced it at $7 because $7 is $5. $8 is $10. If you price your game at $8, people are like, oh, it's $10. If you price your game at $7, people are like, oh, it's $5. So we priced it at $7 because people mentally think of that as being $5. And it's kind of like this, where it's like when you price it at $60, people are like, oh, that's a full-priced game. But when you price it at $40 to $50, people are like, oh, this is this is not a full-price game. I'm getting a deal. This is a cheaper game. So there's a little bit of head math and like mental mental marketing math you need to do. And I do think that, again, even though personally I think the game is worth $60, it would have done better at 40 to 50. Yeah. Anyway, that said, we've been so sidetracked. We got 2 more teams to cover. We gotta lock in here. We gotta focus. Dirk, guys, Dirk. Dirk's just an asshole, but it's great. He doesn't really have much character development, but again, he orbits other important characters and has interesting interactions with other characters. And kind of by the end, he's pretty much right where he started. He is still a henchman. He's still a higher up guy. But he has some of the most entertaining lines in the whole thing. He's great every time he's on screen. Again, similar to Hina and kind of similar to Lavinia. Like, they're just fun characters when they're on screen. And when you see them, you're like, ooh, what are they going to say next? What are they going to do now? So I'm perfectly fine with him as a character. Sure, he doesn't have a big story arc or much character development. But exactly, CW. Yes, he's a perfectly good supporting villain. Yep. Like, I have no complaints. I didn't need him to have a story because he was clearly put there to be like the funny villain, supporting villain, and he did a great job at that. So no real complaints with Dirk. Hope is really interesting because Hope, the whole time, Hope is filling kind of a similar role to Frederick, where Hope is sort of the parental figure to Gabriel and Dirk's bickering. And they kind of bide their time. They kind of sit in the sidelines. They, you know, they're cool and collected the entire game. And then at the very end, they strike. Which I think I like, in a way. I guess, bummed that it does mean we get the kind of premature end to Gabriel, which we'll get to. But I do like that Hope is so reserved the entire game. But like so cold and calculated in a way. And you just know, we said this early on in the story. She's just waiting for her time. She's just waiting for her time. She found it. And it seemed to have worked for her. Because she seems to be kind of the next in line for the promotion or whatever. I like her car, hate how it drives. Oh, really? Dude, her car was one of the first cars I actually clicked with. It's much more grippy and a little understeery and has like a wider drifting arc, but I think it's a little bit more intuitive when you're not used to the game. I actually really like her car. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites anymore, but it's definitely like in the top half. I do still like it. They call out Dirk for not plotting to kill Gabriel, but for being so blunt about it. If they really were Caterpillar, they spent the entire game plotting to get Gabriel killed. Yeah, and that's a good point. We didn't even bring that up. I think, yeah, my running theory is that they're Caterpillar. I really want to go back and either watch someone play it or play it myself again and feel that for myself and like get all the interactions. I think if there is anyone that is a clear front runner, it's Hope. I think if anyone is a clear front runner, it's Hope. Yeah. You don't like the livery? To be fair, I don't think I really put much thought in it. I think I was just like putting on parts that were, unlocked. Here, should I go full gaudy for you? Ooh, I like that wing actually. Oh, I like the green. The green's cool. Ooh, that feels. I love that like satin pink. Ooh, that's sick. With the pink headlights too. Ooh, let's run this with I want that other wing. But that has gold on the back. I don't know if I want that wing with gold on the back. There's got to be another one. Oh, that's right. She has this customization too with the customization pack. That's also really cool. Does that work visually? Is there too much of like a color? Yeah, that doesn't really fit. Color doesn't line up. Dang. Dang, I really like that wing. Oh, here we go. Okay, wait. If I unlock... Whoops. If I unlock this, that fits a little bit better. Because see how this one has the gold right there? I just don't like the gold, where nothing else is really gold. But this one is black. So I just need to do medium score challenge as Hope to get the black variant of it. And then I think that would be what I would run. Maybe with some... I'd maybe do different... Hold on, where's the exhausts? That's like a little gold. Yeah, I like that more. Let's maybe do different wheels. What does she have? Ooh! Ooh, I like those wheels way more. Those are sick. Dang, yeah, I need to unlock those. What about these? There, we'll run those for now. But I really like those mesh. I think that's my style right there. That's what I want to be running. Maybe different headlights. Maybe do like yeah, we'll do the color 1 headlights, I think. Just so it's not all pink. Maybe a different window tint as well. Yeah. Kind of like that. All right, anyway. we're getting distracted, but I like that a lot more. I just need to get the non-gold wing. Yeah, I think Hope is also, I think they're a good character. I think they have a relatively, I wouldn't say they have too much of an arc because it's very backloaded, but like you can tell they're just like lying in wait, waiting for the right moment, just waiting for it to all crumble down, and then they strike and it works. So like I'm okay with that. And again, when you're balancing 15 different characters, you need to kind of pace the story differently. You need to have some characters that are having more stuff go on during the beginning, some more towards the end, some more towards in the middle. So like I don't have any issue with like the pacing of Hope's story specifically, even though it is more backloaded, where like nothing happens. She's just kind of like, they are just kind of an interesting character. Like I think they're generally well written. They make sense, and then they strike. Yeah, my guess would be that Hope takes over in the hopeful sequel. Hope is the comeback queen in both story and gameplay. There you go. Yeah, dude, and yeah, Hope's ability, it's like stock generation, whatever, where she gets like really quick sync gen when she already has some. Oh, that's so good. You stay on like X3 on like 3 times or even like dip into the 2 times. You just like constantly have boost. It's awesome. They're one of my favorite characters to play just because of that, because they're a little slower on the first lap, maybe on the second lap too, and then you get to like a couple laps in and it's just like boom, 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 boom. Like they just fly through the pack. It's awesome. Oh, fun fact, it's either bugged or the display for it is wrong. It says ×3, but it's actually quadrupled. I hope it stays that way. Yes, you have to hope the boost will come. There you go. Yeah, I really like playing as their character for that reason. All right. Gabriel is one of the big ones. So obviously Gabriel, if we're to say, which honestly is like not even necessarily true, but if we're to say that like these are the main characters, Gabriel is like very closely attached to that, obviously because of his relationship with Quinn. That drives a lot of what happens. Gabriel, I think, has really, really good writing and development throughout 95% of the story, where he starts out as such an obvious bad guy. And you see him first through the lens of the Green Reapers, through the Banshees, which paints him as the bad guy. And then you obviously find out how much he's been manipulated by his mom, how much he is trying to fill the shoes that are kind of impossible to fill, how vulnerable he really is, his relationship with Quinn. It's incredible. It's fascinating. It's really, really well done. Yeah, his relationship with Noboru. It's really, really good. He's a very dynamic character, and he's a very deep character. And again, like with so many of the characters, like I understand where he's coming from. I understand why he is the way that he is. Even if I don't agree with him, I know why he's making the choices he is and saying the things that he is. I think, and we talked about this, and I think most people would agree, I do think we got just one final thing to put doubt in Hiroshi's mind that he really is as evil as he fronts about. It does hurt. And I don't fully see the story motivation for him to have died before that came out. For him to take that to the grave. Because at this point, like, nobody else knows, right? I don't think he ever really divulges to Hope his, or obviously Dirk, his relationship with Quinn. Does he divulge that to Noboru? Okay, yeah, TMK says except Noboru. So is Noboru the only one that really knows, like, his vulnerability? And again, more reason for Noboru to come back in a sequel. Like, maybe not as a player character, but as, like, an altered, like, as a side character. To kind of, like, drive some of those story points and connect things back. Okay, yeah. Yeah, right. Besides being a general asshole, he didn't do anything that bad. He messed up with Quinn, but that's about it. Right, and, like, his reasoning for being an asshole kind of makes sense. And his reasoning for messing up with Quinn kind of makes sense. He was feeling scared. He finally had someone that felt like they connected with him, and he wanted Quinn next to him. And yeah, he made the wrong call, and he got scared. But, like, I understand why he did it. It makes so much sense for the story. Right, exactly, CW. And, like, he clearly... Yeah, like, I think he's such a well-written character. Somebody said it, but, like, it was such a surprise. That it's like, oh, wow, you expect Gabriel to just be, like, generic corpo dick. And then you're like, oh, whoa, I get it. Like, it's really good. And I think it just makes it sting a little bit more that he gets that premature end. I do think it kind of makes sense in the context of Hope. And in the context of, honestly, you know, kind of some of his decisions catching up with him, even if he was starting to turn a new leaf a little bit. You know, he was definitely skirting with death for a long time. And Hope was obviously, you know, biding their time to strike. And Hope very masterfully used that to manipulate their way into their position of power. But yeah, I wish we got, at the very least, something during that scene where Hiroshi has the chance to kill him. During that scene, I wish there was even just one line to make Hiroshi rethink Gabriel. Because at this point, it's true, you know, Hiroshi chooses not to kill Gabriel, but that's for himself. That's because he realizes that it's not about revenge. That what he needs to do, not only for his sake, but obviously, like, kind of the sake of the Hollowed and the Echo and the overall story, he needs to just give it up and move on. So I think it could have been maybe a better catalyst for that if Gabriel at the very end was just like, you know, said some line about Quinn that gave Hiroshi pause, about like, I'm sorry about Quinn, or it's my fault, or something to make Hiroshi be like, wait, what? Wait a minute, like, you didn't kill Quinn on purpose? Like, you liked Quinn? You miss Quinn? Like, that's interesting. So, yeah. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. And yeah, CW, exactly. That's kind of the words I'm struggling to find, is like, Gabriel dying before he gets a chance to redeem himself works, because it turns it into a tragedy. It makes him a tragic character. Dying before Hiroshi finds out how much he's been suffering feels wrong. Yeah. I like, it's tough because, again, it borders that line of like, a good story doesn't always have everything work out the way you wanted it to. You know, like good stories should have surprises and realities and sacrifices, and you know, that's kind of what happens with Gabriel, and it sort of changes the whole tone in a, yeah, I don't know, it kind of crystallizes the whole tone of his story. Yeah. It also feels like the end of Gabriel in the Screamer story feels like he won't be brought up again, which is a shame. I kind of agree with that. If we get a sequel, I would imagine he will be mentioned. I don't think he'll be completely gone. But I do think he's like dead for sure. I don't think he's gonna like return as a character. And I think they will probably try to wrap up some questions with him and then write him out. And then be done with him. Yeah. Because there are still some open-ended things with him. And I guess it is, yeah, a question of like, you know, yeah, does Hiroshi ever figure it out? Does Noboru ever, you know, figure out that he died? and you know, how does he feel about that? And then does he confide in Hiroshi? And that's how Hiroshi finds out. Like, there are threads they can still pull on, but I do think he's at the end of his story, more or less. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I think it's like a little flash drive. Yeah, I think it's just like a USB drive or something like that. Just like a generic corpo thing or something. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the secret hard drive that has all the information we need. You just have to click on it 400 times. It unlocks a secret boss fight. I think all it really needed was one convo between Gabriel and Hiroshi. Gabriel demands to know why Hiroshi lets him live. The mask finally slips. Hiroshi tells Gabriel they both need to learn to forgive him. Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I think exactly. Like one more line, scene, conversation would have, I think, really kind of dotted the I on that whole thing. But yeah, we'll see. All right. The final characters. We'll just start with Frederick, because I'd say he's sort of the most... He has, like, the least attachment to the main story. He's just kind of there for fun. He has a little bit more depth to him than characters like Dirk and Hina. But he's very similar to Hope, in that he's kind of the glue that's keeping these two school children together. He does have some great writing. He has actually some of the most thoughtful writing in the game, I think. And also some kind of really funny lines, like, "More burger!" which is great. And he's got a little bit of depth to him. Like, you can tell, like, he's got some more emotion. He's not a character that exists to serve one emotion. He does feel the impacts of what is happening around him and reacts to that. And through that, you see him as a little bit more of a deep character. But at the end of the day, it's not like he has a personal struggle that he necessarily needs to overcome. Yeah, right. He's the glue for Hiroshi and Roshin. He does kind of have it. They do bring up a little bit about how he, you know, wishes he could be a better friend, and yeah. But I think that, like, kind of quietly gets resolved, and obviously at the very end, when you kind of see all three of them hanging out in like the Neo Ray downtown area and like being all buddy, I think that's sort of the culmination of his arc, if you want to call it that. A very soft arc, but, you know, fine. But yeah, I think he's like a well-written support character. He's fine. He's very likable, and again, like, his motivations kind of always make sense. You know, if I were to get more from him, it would maybe be to see some of his maybe history with Quinn, a little bit more of his relationship with Quinn, and maybe just some of his history in general, just because we don't know too much of it. But I think it's like, okay, those weren't like big questions that I needed answered. It's just like, if there was more to fill, that's maybe where the direction I'd go in. But yeah, well written, like good support character. Roshin, very interesting character, with obviously one of like the bigger arcs in the story, with her relationship with Lavinia, which ends extremely tragically and very clearly sets her up to be a more primary character in the next game. Again, if there is one. I think that is I think she is very, very strongly being teed up for the next game. As the primary motivation and counterpart to whatever role Lavinia plays. She's a really fun character. She's got a sick car. She's, again, pretty fun when she's on screen. She's got, you know, some great lines. She's a pretty spicy character. And it's really fun to see that hard exterior crack a little bit when she's around Lavinia. And I think it's what makes that relationship arc really powerful and really meaningful when Lavinia dies. Because Roshin is such a hard ass, except around Lavinia. Lavinia, like, finally breaks her. And when that happens, like, you're cheering it on as the character, as a viewer. You're like, yay, it's happening. Like, we're getting to Roshin's gooey center. Don't take that out of context. And yeah, I think it's very clear that her story's not wrapped up. I will say the one thing that I thought was interesting. Yeah, that is true. I wish we got her eye in game. Yeah, it's weird that it only shows up in the cinematic, the team intro cinematic. I think we get a good amount of motivation for her, a good amount of backstory for her. You know, you kind of feel for her and why she's built up the you know, hard exterior that she has. But it's clear they're kind of teeing her up for the next game. The one thing I think is a little strange, maybe, and I guess you probably don't see it here, do you? How do I... WASDA. There we go. Don't know how to control on keyboard. Yeah, you don't see it here. It's her car, right, at the very end that has Quinn as the license plate? Or is that Hiroshi's? Hold on. Let me double check that. Okay, yeah. Wait, I think it's Hiroshi's. Yeah, I think you guys are right. Hold on, let's just replay this. Well, I think this is animated. Let's just watch it.
So
yeah, you're right. It's Hiroshi's.
You'll give us a quick lead. Next, Frederick, play defense. I'll go last and dodge him like Frederick evading his bill at the bar.
Si on gagne, c'est Hiroshi qui paie la première.
Sound good?
Carrément.
Aye, grand.
Then, let's win this thing.
Love this little musical riff.
Roshin, if you ever want to talk about...
I know. Thanks, Hiroshi.
We get to see the interior of the car so rarely. Okay, yeah, 100% Hiroshi's car. So never mind. I won't say what I was going to say. Because I was going to say if that was hers. I don't know why I was thinking it was hers for a minute. As I said it, I was like, wait, no, that's not right. She's very clearly still broken up about Lavinia. That's made obvious in that cutscene. But it seems like, you know, she's kind of like found her place with her family, with her people. She obviously didn't say screw you guys and go off on her own. Yeah. Now, real quick, does Hiroshi's car in this, like, is that like a subtle change they add? No, they don't. They don't change it when you beat the game. Okay. It's curious. Had to see. Yeah, I think... I don't know where I sit overall on her character. I really like her character. I really like her arc. I guess she kind of, you know... I guess it's more tragedy. It's just more tragedy at the end, but she does obviously have a certain amount of payoff with Hiroshi and Frederick, with her team. So there is some satisfaction there. She's not like totally a lone abandoned baby bird in the rain. She's give 10 out of 10 or she'll call you Olympic. Yeah, I think, you know, it's good, especially in the perspective that she's clearly being teed up to be a large character in the next game. Yeah. Wish we got a little more explanation why Roshin and Hiroshi had such a problem with each other. We know from flashbacks that they were at each other's throats all the time, even before Quinn died. Yeah, I think I kind of always just took that as like, they're both just immature hotheads. I think that's kind of all I saw it as, is like both of them are kind of just hot-headed characters. I don't know. That's kind of all I've seen it as yeah. But yeah, maybe it really could have been nice to see a little bit of the prequel with them and Quinn. A little bit more of that. A little bit to like solidify their dynamic before all this happens. You get some flashbacks, but a lot of them are like individual flashbacks or yeah. It could have been nice to see a bit more of that. She doesn't take the lead on wanting to kill Gabriel, but she does want to. Like, Roshin didn't blow off his arm when they met. She instigates... Yeah, she does instigate a lot of it. But later on, so Hiroshi kind of does too. Once he's kind of being manipulated a little bit more. I'm looking at the graphic of the tires. It looks so good. There's, like, really good tire wear on his car. Can I... Yeah, you can zoom in on that. Look at that. There's like little like bits of road being picked up on the tire, like clear wear lines on the tire where it's clean on the sidewall and then kind of worn up. That's done really well, actually. Nice details. I hope that comes through on the stream. It's just a well done tire model. Yeah, right. Forza could never. Honestly though, like it looks really good. Rear tire look like that? Whoop, wrong car. Yeah, rear tire looks good too. Yeah, a lot of... Actually, I'm just kind of now noticing a lot of people are running different tires. That's pretty sick, actually. Yeah, we gotta drive these. But yeah, yeah. Roshin's a good character. She's a good character. Okay, Hiroshi. I guess you could say the main character of the game in a sense, but again, obviously, like, it's kind of a lot of main characters. See the Reaper's alt set 2 liveries. Yeah. That's so sick. I have seen these, yeah. I think I really like Frederick's. Because it really leans into, like, the race car Viper thing. Yeah, that's sick. Is it his... these are the ones I was thinking of, though. Well, no, maybe not. Although these are also really sick. Customization pack ones. But yeah, alt set 2 also looks really good. That's a very good set. Yeah, Hiroshi, I would say almost arguably has one of the most complete story arcs next to Noboru. He's kind of one of the only ones that gets like a full good payoff of his main goal, I guess I would say. I think he is a really well-written character, like full through and through. You start out and you kind of you're kind of inclined to like him because the assumption is he's sort of the main character. And so you try to like bond with him and connect with him as a character. And early on you kind of do, because you see his struggles and you're like, dang, he's just trying to keep this all together. And Roshin's just being mean to him. But then, you know, and it develops a lot of like what his struggle is and where he's coming from with his relationship with Quinn and you know, trying to fill the shoes that are kind of impossible to fill again. And then obviously he gets manipulated by Mr. A and becomes more and more and more aggressive and thinks he's doing the right thing, thinks that he's working towards his goal and doing what he needs to be doing. But then obviously at the very end kind of realizes that that's not right and that it's not worth it. And he kind of comes around. So yeah, I would say Hiroshi is kind of the one of the few stories that has a lot of depth and gets a lot of screen time and is very connected to a lot of the rest of the story, but also has like a satisfying conclusion where everything kind of works out for him. Really the only other like main character that happens is like Noboru. Yeah, I guess technically Hope, but yeah, which I mean, again, makes sense. Like he's the hero character. He kind of gets the most well-written story. Sure. Yeah, exactly. His flaws all make sense for his character and he goes through a good arc by the end. Not sure where they go with him in a sequel. I would honestly not be surprised if maybe they write him out in the sequel and Roshin takes over. Like maybe something happens with him where he like just doesn't want to go back. Yeah, I don't know. Zarza says you wouldn't have an sequel. Yeah, I'm starting to think like maybe they, because again, we know with the assumption that Lavinia is going to be a major component of the next story, if we ever get one, that obviously means Roshin has to be a major component. So maybe Roshin takes over as leader and maybe she just gets him back on as like a member because he just loves to race, right? Yeah, I don't know. Anaconda does have it out for all three of them. That is a good point because Hope, especially towards the end, Hope is framing it as if these guys killed Gabriel. That's how Hope kind of like weasels into their position of power, is by saying, oh yeah, the Green Reapers finally did it. They killed your son. And I guess that's kind of still his tie to the main story threads that still need to be wrapped up. So yeah, he has to come back. But I would be very fine and almost happy if he's like not the hero character of the next game. And maybe it's Roshin or maybe it's somebody new, maybe it's like Gay, I don't know, could be anybody. Oh, yeah, Anaconda could capture Hiroshi to get leverage over the Reapers. Yeah, that's true too. Let Gage drive. Dude, I know. It'd be fun if Gage were a driver in the next one. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Gage like doesn't have a car. It's just Fermi's car. That's actually interesting because you see his car. Unless, no, that's not Fermi's car. This has to be Gage's car, right? And they kind of just hold that over your head the whole time. That, like, he's got a car. Huh. It's Ritzko's car? No. Yeah, Fermi as the protag. It'd be funny if Fermi was the next main character. Yeah, somebody go in. This is an Unreal Engine game. Someone go in with a free cam and peek under there and find out what it is. Wait, no. Oh, has somebody already done that? Wait, it's Roshin's car? Okay. Well, and obviously the perspective of this, I don't know if that makes sense either. with the silhouette. I mean, the silhouette of it doesn't line up for me. But either way, lore-wise, it could be that they just like used a random car model and just threw it under this sheet just for the sake of the video game. Lore-wise, this has to be his car, though, I think. Story-wise, I think this has got to be his car. And it shows up so often in so many scenes. It obviously is right here. They just kind of hold it over your head. They just put it there, but you never see it. So I bet game 2, if we ever get one, I bet we find out what this is. I really hope it's another like rally spec car, kind of like Fermi's. Yeah, like an RS200. Yeah, that would be fun. It does look like kind of a short, squat car. Yeah. Fermi, Gage, and the announcer could be a team in the next game. Absolutely, yeah. Because obviously Mr. A's not going to be. Wait, what the hell? Oh, there we go. I was like, why is it not showing the correct car there? I want to look at all of his sets. Damn, that's sick. Man, his car's crazy. Ooh, I like that. The black and orange, that's fun. The white with carbon is also really cool. We might try to get that today. Suzuki Escudo Pikes Peak looking car. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It would kind of fit. I want to see Abigail as Anaconda's new leader. She did used to be a screamer after all. That could be kind of interesting, yeah. She takes her son's position or something like that. Or they could mix it up, you know, who knows? It'd be kind of funny to have. She's got to be like 100 years old, though. Yeah. So this might have been discussed already. I wonder what the relevance for the Echo is going to be in future games. Yeah, I mean, they've got to... This is what's... So... Okay. Let's put a quick pause on that. Let me just say, overall, to wrap up kind of each individual character and each individual team, overall, I have been very impressed with how much each character is a character and how much each team and character connects to, you know, if you were to like draw a web of how everyone is connected to everyone, it would be a pretty well interwoven web, generally speaking. And I did not go into this expecting that. When I first played this game, I fully did not expect that we were going to get 15 characters across 4 teams, 5 teams, sorry, that all have like meaning to the story and relationships with each other and development, and I'm overall like really impressed with that. And yeah, some characters, you know, got better stories than others got more, you know, screen time than others, so on and so forth. But like by and large, when you're juggling 15 characters from 5 different, you know, factions with 5 different motivations, all with their own personal motivations, and interweaving it as well as you are, like, I think it's really well done. I think not even just for like a racing game, it's obviously good for a racing game, but like just in general, as a story being told, it's really well done. And I was continuously impressed playing through the entire game. I really can't think of many other games that go out trying to do something like this and actually kind of succeeding at it. Again, this is something you only get in like Mass Effect or maybe like Baldur's Gate, where you've got like a large cast of characters where every character kind of matters. And like, sure, like does Hina really matter? Does Dirk really matter? no, they're sort of more side characters, but they're like good side characters. They're good supporting characters. So I still think they add value to the story as a whole. Yeah, I think it's really well done. Hold on, let me see what CW picked here. Yeah, totally. 100%. Like Cruella DeVille, old school like rat rod, yeah. Like old school like mobster car for Abigail. Totally. Yeah, so as far as the characters go, very, very happy with how it all played out and how much of an actual story it was. How much of an actual story. As far as the story as a whole, I also think it's pretty dang good. One of the things I was thinking about like right before the stream is the Mr. A being James thing. I think they actually handled that better than I've seen almost like any other piece of media handle stuff like that. Where we talk about halfway through the story, we thought we had a conversation about Mr. A potentially being James, but they do such a good job of not giving you any real holds to latch onto. There's no strong evidence at any point that Mr. A is James during a first playthrough. When you're experiencing the story for the first time, you can theorize about it. We did. But at no point are you like, oh, Mr. A is James because. Because there is no because. They do such a good job of not dropping breadcrumbs for you. But then on the flip side of that, when it is revealed, it still makes a lot of sense and adds so much context to a lot of those earlier interactions. So it's so well balanced to where it's not like it just comes up as a surprise and there's no reason for it, and then it happens and you're like, wait, what? But why though? Like it's not like it just comes out of the blue for no reason. And on the flip side, it's not like you call it right away and they just continuously drop bigger and bigger breadcrumbs of like, haha, it's James. It's James. Like it's not like they tell the player at any point or even give the player any sort of confirmation that it is James. But they managed to toe the line so well to where you can theorize that it's James early on, but at no point are you going to be confident about that until it happens. And when it does, it still is exciting and it's still a big moment. Because again, like, and CW said, yeah, you called him being James right near the start, but they give you basically no solid hints until the end. Exactly. Like I think it's so well done. Because even if you think it could be James, when it is revealed that it is, it still hits. Because it's that confirmation. It's like, it was James! And then it all, like, fits in, and it all connects. And again, it makes you want to go back and see all of his lines in a new context. So I think the handling of that was extremely well done. It was extremely well done. Yeah, TMK, I had the same thought at some point. Yeah, once we got to the exoport, I assumed the one body in that main take was James. Yeah. I had a theory that all of the clones were based on James, and like that was going to be it. And that's the thing, like they do such a good job of, they don't like really throw you red herrings, but they just let you speculate. They just kind of like throw all these things out and they let you like try to grasp at something. And so you have all these different theories and all these different ideas, and you think like, yeah, one of these might be right. I can see it if it goes this way. But then, like, the world of possibility, like, crystallizes and hits a point when it happens, and that's a really satisfying payoff, even if you already thought that could be the answer. So I think that is so hard to do, and they did it really well. And I'm really, really happy with that. And again, like, with his interaction, with his relationship with Gage, and with Gage just as a character, like, they do such a good job of, like, kind of giving you just enough, but also not enough, and so, like, you can have the thought, but nothing will confirm that thought. It's really well done. So I really like that. I really like Gage as a character. I think Gage makes a lot of sense too, just to speak on him briefly. Fermi's the best also. And yeah, I think the overall story is good. I think the aliens thing, it's certainly a surprise, but like we were talking about, like, it kind of makes sense in the context, because early on, you're dealing with, like, strange magical technology that came from space, kind of, and this mysterious man. You're dealing with, like, a mysterious death in space. So again, like with the Mr. A thing, they do a very good job of towing that line where you never get anything concrete until it happens, but when it happens, it doesn't feel random. It's a big reveal. When a racing game goes, hey, this game's actually about an alien invasion, that's a big bomb to drop. And somehow, they hold that until, like, the very end, and it still kind of makes sense. It doesn't feel like it's like a big twist, but when you go back and you look at it, the setup is there, and it kind of makes sense. It's pretty big. It's still like a big bomb to drop, but it works. Like, it does work. Yeah, the abandon your friend line, right? You can tell they're working together, but they're not on the same side, especially with how they keep shaking up the tournament. Yeah, in reference to, right, yeah, exactly, TMK. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, as soon as the Echo comes into play, immediately we're deep into sci-fi. Right, yeah. And again, I think that's critical too. I will say, here's one thing I will say. I expected early on that the Echo would have more of a story implication with the coming back from death thing. And I'm kind of surprised that they didn't go that route. Not to say that they couldn't for the next game, but when I had played the preview of the game and I was only able to get to, like, chapter 7 or something, I called, like, right away. I was like, okay, they are totally gonna, like, have some sort of time travel coming back from death thing that happens here that's gonna be a big twist with the Echo, where it's gonna turn out that, like, the Echo isn't actually bringing you back from the dead. It's, like, building a new clone, and, like, the actual you goes off into space to become tortured by the aliens or something, like, or that, like, yeah, they're gonna, like, toy with it and break it or modify it so that they can, like, extend it and try to bring back James. Or I thought that there was going to be, I just like felt a weird splinter on my finger and now I can't find it. I figured they were gonna play with the death mechanics of the Echo a little bit more. And I'm kind of surprised that they didn't. But also, I think what the Echo ended up becoming does kind of make sense as well. And again, like, gives a lot of context to Overdrive and gives a lot of context to each character's skill, which I really like. And then obviously, like, yeah, makes sense with the whole thing. That might be more chilling than what actually happened, I know. But that's, I mean, I knew right away that it was going to deal with some heavy topics. And anytime you're dealing with death and rebirth, you know it's gonna get heavy. I found the splinter. Haha! It is actually a splinter. Ow. Can I get it? No. Okay, I'll have to get that later, because that is gonna bother me. Alright, anyway. Sorry. Yeah, I'm surprised with the direction that the Echo went. But again, it like fits with the story. It's just a different direction than I expected them to go in. Yeah, I think overall, I really like the story. I think, again, balancing this many characters is a big task, and they pulled it off pretty dang well. And I think the overall story had me asking a lot of questions, very engaged, and then at the end, not feeling like, wait, but what? Like, I felt like I got the answers I wanted to get. There are still a lot of questions, and it's very obvious that this is not the end of the story, and at least they don't want it to be the end of the story. That's clear. But, so, yeah. So, like, in a vacuum, if this is all we ever get, then that's gonna be a bummer. Because there are obviously some questions left unanswered. But, to be honest, I'm still pretty happy with it. I think that the payoff at the end was good. Could it have been a little better? Sure. Could individual stories have been wrapped up a little bit better here and there? Sure. But at the end of the day, the biggest questions I had were answered. What happened to James? Who is Mr. A? What is the whole thing with the Echo? What is the mystery behind, you know, like, why is the Echo behaving like this? Like, it did give us, I think, satisfying and logical answers to the biggest questions that were being proposed during the game, and I like that, and I'm satisfied with it. I didn't leave that ending unsatisfied. I think it did enough to wrap up enough things while also leaving enough mystery, and not even just mystery, but like open questions. It's dark in a way that is the exact opposite of nasty and gritty, and it took me a while to process. Yeah, it's heavy, man. It's a heavy story, and it's not even... It's a heavy story emotionally. Which, again, is hard to do. You can tell a dark story. You can tell a depressing story. You can tell a scary story. You know, those are easier emotions, I think, to tug on. But to make people emotionally invested in the story is harder, and that requires more work, and it requires a better payoff. And I think they did that. Like, I think Lavinia's death and what potentially happens after hurts. It sucks. It's not good. Even Gabriel's death is really tragic, and it sucks, and you wish it didn't happen. And James, you feel for James, especially by the end when you get like his whole sequence and turning into Mr. A, and then at the very end, God, like calling out, be like waking up as James after being gone for what, months, and immediately calling out to Ritsuko and then just dying. Damn, that's sad. Like it's dark, man. And a lot of, again, like with Aisha, like, still at the end not making the right choice. Like it's very human. Like the story is not afraid to be imperfect, I guess is what I would say. A lot of stories try to be very clean. This story is a pretty messy story. Because humans and human emotion is messy. And a lot of times people don't react in ways that make sense to the story. But I think that they kind of pulled it off. I think that they told a story that was very human and about the messy and imperfect and sometimes not very pure motivations that people have. And it worked. It kind of worked. So, yeah, I don't know. Aisha made the wrong choice after the Hollows literally guilt-tripped her about it beforehand, which led to her stopping the second duel. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Aisha's ending is very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it's not like the bar is that high. It's not like there's that much competition. The only other racing game I can think of that has a like truly good story that I've played is like Driver San Francisco. Driver San Francisco has like just a genuinely interesting story. Need for Speed Carbon Own the City, the PSP version of Need for Speed Carbon, also has a decent story. Like it's a heavier story. It deals with some darker topics, but like it still is fairly campy, but like it's good for a Need for Speed game. I can't really think of another racing game that has a story that's like legitimately good. I'm sure they're out there. I know people have said Need for Speed The Run has an interesting story. That's like on my list of games to play. But yeah, like, I don't know. What else is there outside of that? It's honestly mental to package a story about loss, revenge, and possible incoming alien apocalypse in a flashy neon arcade racer. It has no right to work. Dude, that exactly. like not only is this a story about, yeah, loss and revenge and you know, human motivations, and within the context of like this futuristic dystopian cyberpunk world, but then it's actually all about an alien invasion. Like, and somehow it all works and is packaged in this like Ridge Racer style video game. It's great. Like they pulled it off. They pulled it off. Yeah, it's crazy. Most arcade racer stories are just adapted Fast and Furious, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, like, there's not a Horizon game, or I'd say The Crew 1 at least tries to tell a story. I'd say The Crew 1, like, has a story to it, and that alone kind of sets it up to be, like, a decent story, because it is at least a story with characters that have motivations. But yeah, like, really, I think for me, Driver San Francisco has always been the gold standard of how to tell an interesting story in a racing game. And now I think it's Screamer. Although I will say, I'd say maybe the flow of Driver San Francisco is arguably a little bit better. And it also really strongly integrates the story into the gameplay mechanics. Whereas this, it does do a very good job of weaving the story and the gameplay together and giving you story motivations for the gameplay, but also kind of by its nature of just being a track racer with a visual novel attached to it, it's a little bit more disjointed. You have like driving segment, story segment, driving segment, story segment, and they do weave together. There is a connection to them, but if I were to say something more positive about, you know, like that Driver does a little bit better, I do think the like overall pacing and weaving of the story happening alongside and in connection to the gameplay feels smoother and more interconnected, just because of the nature of that kind of being an open world game, and you know how like the main gameplay mechanic also has a lot to do with the story. Yeah. Yeah. Is it even possible to buy Driver San Francisco these days? I don't know. When I played it last, we played it on stream a couple years ago. I don't think I bought it on Steam. I don't remember. I might have just pirated it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess check on Steam or GOG, but I think it might just be abandonware at this point. Yeah. Wyvern, we'll see. We'll see. No, I do actually, I do have to go at some point. Yeah, Zars, I want to play it again. I haven't played since it came out. Wasn't even mine. Dude, yeah, it's a great game. It's a great game. I think it's totally worth a replay. But yeah, okay, so speaking, here's what's weird about the sequel is how the hell do they do a sequel to this? Story-wise, they have plenty to go on. Story-wise, they have plenty to go on. Gameplay-wise, I don't know how they're going to keep this whole team mechanic while also, like, telling a story about an alien invasion. How are they going to keep a team-based racing game in the midst of an alien invasion? Like, I honestly wonder if it's just smarter to, like, turn this into an animated series. like this game is the prequel, and then we're gonna do like a limited animated series to tell the rest of the story. and who knows? Maybe they've already got ideas. Maybe they figure it out. But I don't know where they go from a gameplay perspective. How do they have multiple different teams all working against each other when you have, like, a global alien invasion happening? I like... And then, again, how do you also keep it around cars? How do you have another Screamer tournament? How do you do that? Like, you know? I don't know where they're going with that. Yeah, hear me out. The next Screamer's actually a turn-based tactics game in the vein of XCOM. Dude, imagine Roshin as, like, an XCOM character. That'd be awesome. I'd be all for that. Yeah. Maybe for the sequel, the enemy is Among Us. Don't even think about it. Dude, I actually did, as soon as we figured out that the Hollowed can, like, can mind control people, I was like, ooh, I wonder if one of the characters is, like, already mind controlled. I wonder if this is going to be like a Mission Impossible situation where, like, nobody is who you think they are, and then they take off the mask and they're actually an alien. That didn't happen, obviously, but yeah, they could certainly play with that in the second game of, like, it's not an outright war invasion. It's like a subtle invasion of, like, you know, some of these characters might actually be the Hollowed. Yeah. Could probably go back to... Oh, to be fair, the heroes think they won. You could probably go back to normal racing until the Hollowed show up. Yeah, I mean, you could just frame it as, like, you know, hey, maybe one of the characters is like, let's just do... Like, maybe Gage and the announcer get together and they're like, let's get the gang back for old time's sake to, like, have our own Screamer tournament. I don't know. And then it turns out that, like, the tournament's infiltrated by the Hollowed or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like a global conflict with aliens controlling powerful people. Right. What if they turned into more of, like, recent... It's funny, I was thinking about Carmageddon, like, a minute ago when I was talking about that. More active weapons, team tactics against alien AI opponents. Yeah, I mean, it would be... I wouldn't put it past them to make a sequel that played very different. Just because this is already a very different game. This is very unique compared to everything else that's out there in the racing game space. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were comfortable doing something unique and different again. and turning it into more of like an active combat game, like a racing game horde shooter, you know? Like, it could happen. It could happen. Imagine having the team aspect involve 2 players driving the same car, like Mario Kart. Mario Kart Double Dash. I'd be in. I'd be in. Yeah, I'm really curious. I hope so badly that we get more. So badly, because funny enough, we were talking about Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15, we know, like, this is just a fact. It's been public. Final Fantasy 15 was supposed to get more story. It was supposed to get more in the middle of it, and it was supposed to get more at the end of it. And there were supposed to be more DLCs. And it's so tragic that it got cut short, because there were some really important stories that should have been told and never got to be told. Now, there is a book. God, what is the book called? I can't remember. But there's a book that ended up getting released after Final Fantasy 15 when they realized that they weren't going to be able to basically finish the story of the game. So they put out this book that, like, sort of fills some of the gaps and also, like, kind of tells an alternate ending, which is actually a much happier ending than what happens in the game. And I honestly almost wonder if that's what we're going to get here, where it's like the game didn't sell well enough to justify a sequel, but clearly this is a passion project for somebody that worked here. There is so obviously so much passion and so many, like, good ideas that went into this. Whoever wrote the story wanted to tell this story, and they clearly have some ideas to keep it going. Clearly, because that the entire ending is just a tee up for a sequel. So I wonder if we don't get a game and we just get, like, a Reddit post from the writer, or like maybe another comic, or again, like, maybe an animated short, or a little series, an animated series, or something to finish the story. Because somebody that the people that wrote this story care about these characters. Like, you can tell that it just, you can tell that the people who wrote this are also invested in this and want to see these stories through. So, and if they don't get the chance through a game, I hope that we at least get something. I obviously hope we get a game. I really, really hope we get a game. But I just, given how it's looking, at least on Steam sales, I just don't know. And, like, this is also another kind of scary thing, and maybe some of you guys know a little bit more about this than I do, but they still have not opened ranked multiplayer. The game's been out now for, what, 2 months? When did this come out? Was this in March or April? I don't remember. I think it was April. The game's been out, though, for a while, and they still have not unlocked the ranked racing mode. Late March. Okay, there you go. So, yeah. Now, granted, you can say, oh, yeah, you know, it's just because they were waiting to get the online in a good place, but it's also a little concerning because, like, the online is unfortunately not that busy. From what I've seen, a lot of people are struggling to find players. Hopefully they fix that. There was a patch that, like, just came out last night that apparently made it easier to find lobbies and, like, loosened some of the restrictions, so it's a little bit easier to find games, and it's maybe better connection. But patches, there have been, what, 2, maybe 3 patches for the game? Hold on. Steam, here we go. New patch. Okay. Here we go. So we've got, this was the first patch that came out. We've gotten 3 patches for the game. And they've been pretty small patches. The first patch was decently big. First patch did quite a lot. Second patch did a little less. This patch I also think kind of did a little less. But if the online stuff is important, then that's big enough. So my fear is that they released the game. They had high hopes for it, and it set, you know, higher targets for it. It did not meet those targets at all. And so now they're going, okay, we need to cut our losses. We need to dial back. We will make a small effort. We're going to scale down the team to just do some bug fixes and try to put out a little bit of stuff. We're going to put the game on sale and try to, you know, jumpstart it a little bit to get it going. But my fear is that it hasn't been meeting sales targets and they're having to pivot away from game support to think about something else. I hope I'm wrong. But at least from what I'm seeing, that's kind of the way it's looking to me. But I hope I'm wrong. Because I love this game. By the way, everyone, don't trust Hoki. He literally bought Starfield 5 days ago. True. You know what's even sad about that? That's my second time buying Starfield. So, really anyways, that said, guys, I'm unfortunately going to have to call it right there. I did want to get some gameplay in because I want to... Let me at least see what their skills are. Let me at least just see what their skills are. Oh, yeah, let me go... Because I don't even know what their skills are yet. I wanted to spend some time playing with each of the new characters. And just checking them out. And then I wanted to try and get Mr. A's, like, secret thing. But yeah, I do have to go pretty soon here. Like, kind of now. So, yeah. Oh, Wyvern. Well, hey, I'm not done yet. Okay, so his is... Oh, yeah, Herding Instinct. Cannot enter overdrive, but boost and strike last longer. I like that. That's my vibe. His car, we drove his car once, and it was pretty hard to drive. It was very drifty, I remember. But I like his skill. All right, what's his? Heat replaces Sync. Holding boost... Oh, whoa. Hold on. Whoa. Heat replaces Sync. Holding boost and using shield increases heat. Overdrive resets heat. High heat makes the car vulnerable. Max heat makes the car explode. Huh? And then cannot activate strike. Wow. Okay, yeah, he's literally playing a different game. Okay, heat replaces Sync. Holding boost and using shield increases heat. Overdrive resets heat. High heat, so you have to use overdrive. Okay. High heat makes the car vulnerable, max heat makes the car explode, and he cannot strike. Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, we gotta play around with that. All right, what is hers? Style Empress. Cool name. Performing sync or entropy actions increases style. Making mistakes like colliding with track boundaries or being KO'd decreases style. Higher style leads to higher sync gen. Oh, cool. I like that. Okay, so she's all about, like, not screwing up. She's the rivals, the Forza rivals. Like, hey, don't crash. I wonder how good that is. Announcer builds my internal heat. I know, right? Yeah, that's really cool. I wonder how powerful that is, like, if you're on a run. If you're doing really well, not crashing into stuff, getting KOs, not getting knocked out. I wonder how powerful that is. Really? Her sync gen is bonkers if you build her up enough. Like a bar every 2 seconds? Whoa! That's crazy. All right, yeah, we'll have to play with these guys at some point. That's sick. That's really cool. It's almost a little bit like Hope's, although it's just more like skill dependent. His, I still don't even understand his. We gotta play and figure that out. Yeah, right, on the big oval track. I'm sure that's amazing. This game's awesome. Multiplayer team races, probably the most fun. Dude, yeah, it's great. It's such a good game. We just wrapped up the story this last Sunday. So today we've just kind of been yapping about it. But yeah. Yeah, try her on the cradles. It gets silly. Who's missing in the middle? This is just random. Yeah, good question. This is just it picks a random character for you. Old school, like, fighting game style. Yeah. Yeah, the Cradles is a really good name for the track. I mean, kind of spoilers, but yeah, it's a cool-ass name. It's a cool-ass name. Dudes, thank you for hanging out today. I'm sorry I do have to go.